America, we are back, baby. Welcome to Friday's casual episode of America Unfiltered. We got a great show for you guys tonight. I want to do a reaction stream to Nicholas Fuentes' stream from last night where he talks about Venezuela and he talks about Candace Owens dropping out of the Turning Point USA tell-all. I mean, this was crazy. I'm someone who has kind of had Candace's back a little bit, but this is a weird move. She goes on her show and says, any place, anytime. And then they're like, okay, we'll do the 15th. We'll do it at this time. And she's like, you know what? I'll just live stream into it. It's like, okay, like what's going on, Candace? But we're going to listen to Nick Fuentes' stream about this. I only saw clips. I haven't seen the full thing yet. So we're going to be watching it for the first time together. Hope you guys enjoy. I do want to bring you guys right into it. Before we start it, I want to remind everyone to like, smash the follow button, leave a comment, let me know what you think about the show. We'll read all the comments at the end of the show. Please rate the show 5 stars on Spotify. Remember to subscribe on YouTube and join our Telegram channel by scanning the code. Where is it? Up there. Scan the code up there. Join our Telegram channel. Stay updated on all things America Unfiltered. But with that, I do want to get right into the reaction. I'm very excited to watch this video with you guys. I'll try not to talk over it much or pause it much. I'll try and just play it. Maybe I'll comment here and there, but we're going to watch this together today.
Good evening, everybody. You're watching America First. My name is Nicholas J. Fuentes. We have a great show for you tonight. Very excited to be back here with you tonight on Thursday. We have a lot to talk about tonight, lots to get into. Big show. Sorry I'm late. I had to wake up really early for this other show, and I'm not really built for that, honestly. I had to wake up at 9 a.m. to do Steven Crowder this morning. 9 a.m.? Are you kidding me? I don't even remember the last time I woke up that early. Must have been like high school. 6:30 a.m., get on the bus, 7:45. It's totally insane. It's totally crazy. Who does a show at 10 a.m.? Who's even awake? Besides like teachers and like the tollway or something. Anyway, so I had to take a nap, as you know, and now I'm awake and I'm wired and I'm ready to go. The show happens when it's meant to happen. That's how I feel. You can't rush a great show. The finest show is when I'm really ready, like I'm dialed in for it. So
That's why I'm late occasionally here as well. Perfection takes time, folks.
Oh, I really took my time. It's 12:41 a.m. I remember I was like on the couch at like 7 p.m. and I kept setting alarms like 7:10, 7:30, 7:45, 8:20, 9:30. I kept setting alarms. And then finally I was like, you know, I think this is the time. I think I'm ready now. So we're ready, and we're going to have a great show. Our featured story tonight, we're talking all about Candace Owens. My girlfriend is at it again. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what to tell you. She doesn't listen. Candace Owens is back in the news. What's going on? So she finally got everything she wanted. She has been spreading so much malicious disinformation that it's ripping the country apart. It's creating a national emergency. She's making me actually start to drift to the left. Because for so many years, they said, disinformation, misinformation, you're a grifter pushing misinformation. And I said, they're just trying to suppress free speech. And then Candace Owens starts a YouTube channel, and it's like, I had a dream about a beekeeper and all the people in the maroon shirts and these Egyptian planes. And there's like 10 million people that are totally into this. It's like, we got a problem. We have a real, this is like, it's actually a little scary. So anyway, she finally got what she wanted. She drove Turning Point USA to the point with her malicious disinformation. Finally, where Turning Point said they're going to do a live stream and they're going to explain themselves. They're going to justify why they didn't kill their own boss. That's how insane this has gotten. Everybody is so whipped up about this that Turning Point USA is going to host their own live stream, and all of these people who are friends with Charlie Kirk in real life, who are probably there at his wedding, at his children's baptism, or well, I don't know how they do it as Protestants, but his closest friends, his wife, they're going to get on a live stream and explain for all these psychos why they didn't murder their own boss with France and Israel and Egypt and the United States and people in maroon shirts and the Beekeeper Society. And so, and this is like, we got to give her credit. It's a huge win for Candace. She wanted disclosure. She wanted transparency. She's getting it. Turning Point answered her questions on a brief video, and they announced this live stream where they're going to give a formal response. Okay, you won. You did it. Even better. Turning Point says she's invited to come to the live stream. Okay. Home run. Easiest victory ever. It's free. It's free. She's been pushing them for 3 months to answer the questions, and they set her up for like, this has got to be, if it happens, the most anticipated live stream of the year. She has had the biggest show in this final quarter, millions of views on YouTube, on Spotify, on X. And if she goes to Turning Point and she puts the screws in them, she is either going to blow the lid on the whole thing, and credit where it's due, she will be the #1 journalist of the century. Or we find out, we get to the bottom of it, that Turning Point was not complicit in the murder of Charlie Kirk. And nobody could say then that we didn't do our due diligence because you got Candace there. So everybody could breathe a sigh of relief. And I think that's a victory for her too, because then she gets to say, well, I discovered the truth. But we find out today she's not going to go. I'm sure you've all seen this. Turning Point says they're going to do a live stream. They're going to answer all the questions about Charlie Kirk. They invite her to show up. She says, challenge accepted. Name the time, name the place. We don't need to plan it out. Let's just do it. They say, okay, December 15th. She goes, oh, but that's a bad day for me. I can't do it then. Can I Skype in? Can I Zoom? Bitch. We can't. What are we doing here? And I said it on Telegram. You actually just have to admire the audacity. This woman has gone in every single day for 3 months, and she has dragged everybody, and like every country, the wife, the friends, the company, the government, the FBI, Israel, France, Egypt. She's dragged everybody through this, whatever you want to call it, this investigation. It's served up to her on a silver platter. All right, uncle, we give up. We're losing to disinformation and mass hysteria. You know, the open society is failing. Mass psychosis has taken hold over the nation. Fine. We'll do a live stream. We'll justify why we didn't kill our boss, and you can ask us anything you want. Just show up. And she goes, I can't that day. Honestly, what else do you have going on? This is your job. You're a YouTuber.
Going on?
She acts like she's a wagey, like, oh, I got to check with my boss. This is your job. This has been your obsession and crusade for 3 months. Literally, what could you have going on? And I see some people already defending. They say, well, you'd understand if you had kids, it's Christmas time. Okay, I think you get a special dispensation. First of all, it's the 15th. People are working and going to school right up until Christmas Eve sometimes. It's 10 days before Christmas, okay? Second of all, I think her family would understand. Her whole family's dragged. I think her family would understand. Maybe we could reschedule the family Christmas party to the 17th, the 19th. Go and do what you got to do. People will defend anything, I guess. But then it gets better. She says, well, I'm not going to go to Phoenix in person. I'll live stream their live stream. So you're
Insane.
too busy to go in person, but you're not busy enough to live stream the event from your house? Does that even make sense to anybody? You can't cancel your show talking about Charlie Kirk's death to go to Turning Point to ask them about Charlie Kirk's death because you're too busy doing your show. This is why crazy bitches, they make the whole world crazy. They make you sound crazy. They make you go crazy. Anyway, so we'll talk about it. That's going to be our featured story. Totally insane. I can't believe how many people are falling for it. And it just goes to show, by the way, and I don't care how much flack I get for saying this, I don't give a shit anymore. I'll tell you the truth. All I know how to do is cut through the bullshit. I'm not setting plays. I'm not strategizing. I'm too cynical about all of these fucking two-faced liars. This low IQ conspiracy theory stuff, it's a huge problem now. It's complete irrationality. People don't even care about the truth. They have no relationship to it. And the conspiracy theory used to be the truth. It used to be the case that the government and big tech was suppressing speech. And if you were a conspiracy theorist, it's because you cared about the truth. You wanted the truth to get out there about 9/11, about JFK, about whatever, all these different things. It was your commitment to the truth that led you down these rabbit holes and led you to press up against the system and maybe get censored or attacked or defamed or whatever. And now it's just become pure paranoia, pure irrationality. And it's reflexive. And we'll talk about it tonight. That'll be our main story. But it's just like, I don't get it. I really don't. I don't understand how these brain damaged old people, and it's a lot of women, it's a lot of men too, sadly, and some young people, but it's a lot of women and a lot of brain damaged old people that have been sucked up into this. I feel sorry for them. It's like QAnon. It's literally no different than the Trump cult, than QAnon. It's the same thing. And here it is. She gets invited to go to Turning Point. Isn't this this is the end game? Okay, you won. Go and ask them. You're leading the investigation. Charlie told me in a dream that he was set up and betrayed. I'm going to take the charge, blah, blah. They invite her to come and do the show. She goes, oh, I can't. And immediately people say, well, she's got kids. Well, it's Christmas. Well, what if they're going to kill her? You know, I think that if she went to Turning Point and died there, I think that would be a little too on the nose, you know? They're saying she can't go to Turning Point. They'll kill her there. It's like, this is all happening on Twitter. How would they get away with that? Does that even make any sense? I've never seen anything like it, honestly. And
yeah, imagine Candace goes to Turning Point for the thing, and then like 2 days later, she mysteriously, like, I don't know, something crazy happens like that, like a heart attack, some mystery event. How fucking painfully obvious would it be that? I mean, I don't know. It's delusion when people are like, they'll kill her if she goes. That part's crazy.
It's making me seriously reconsider a lot of things. Not the Jewish issue or anything like that, but you realize that a lot of this stuff has gone too far. It's hit the high water mark. And by that, I mean, you know, when you don't have these institutions, when you don't have anything like that, then you just there's no bottom, there's no floor for how far you fall into psychosis like this. That's the only thing I could say about it. I watch her show. I don't know how people eat this stuff up. I'm watching her show. She's literally saying, this whole year I've been having visions and dreams of beekeepers. And this is literally her show. I'm like, I'm scared. I'm scared that normal people are watching this. People that I know are watching this and eating this up. It's like, it's disturbing. It's deranged. And I didn't get involved in all this for that. I didn't get involved in this to hear some like fucking black female guru tell us about her fucking dreams and these low IQ conspiracies. It's an insult to conspiracy theories. It's an insult to the radical right. It's a fucking joke. And I don't want anything to do with it. And I'm glad that we had a falling out. Thank God, because I can't imagine even trying or feeling obligated to have to defend this. It's gross. So anyway, we'll get into all that. We're also going to.
At this point, it is getting hard to defend. I mean, I'm someone who has been like saying, let's see what Candace is doing. I was counter signaling her for a bit. And then I was like, you know what? We're going to take a break on it. We're going to see what she's got to say. We're going to see where this investigation goes. And then she accepts the invitation and they're like, okay, great. She goes anytime, any place. And then she's like, that doesn't work for me. I'm a mom. Like, oh, what the fuck, Candace?
I'm going to talk tonight about Venezuela. They're ramping up in Venezuela. Looks like a war is imminent, but we'll talk about some of the details and some of the specifications. It doesn't look like there's going to be an invasion, and I'll tell you why that is. If there's going to be a military operation, it looks like it will be limited. And I think that just has to do with the troop totals down there, unless they're amassing an army of a serious size that we're not aware of. And it looks like maybe the latest development is that elements inside the government are trying to prevent this from happening. I think that the reason they are honing in on this September 2nd boat strike probably is to constrain the administration. And so it appeared that Trump was moving very fast and without any restraint towards a unilateral war in Venezuela. And by unilateral, I don't mean Washington, I mean him. It looked as though he was going to single-handedly plunge us into a war without Congress, without a vote, without anything. And now it seems that there might be some pushback to maybe slow down the tempo a little bit, which I'm actually glad to see. So we'll talk about some of these latest developments. There's been a lot of them. Trump apparently held a phone call with Maduro. You've got the aircraft carrier strike group making a port call in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Serious naval posture. 25% of the active U.S. Navy is deployed off the coast of Venezuela. At the same time now, this whole week, they've been talking about these drug trafficking boat strikes and might create some serious problems for the war. So We'll talk about all that. Before we get into it, I want to remind you to smash the follow button, smash the like button, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the show. Check out the store, Fuentes.store. Get your Wang half shirt. White ass niggas going hard as fuck. That's just, honestly, I identify more as this than anything at this stage in the game.
Wang half.
There is so much deception, so many lies. And my experience with Tucker, honestly, it freaks me out. Because that guy's an operative. No relationship with the truth at all. Total skin suit, fakeoid, alien. And so I don't know what that operation was about bringing me on. All I know is I'm a white ass nigga going hard as fuck. So these elites, these rich people, these feds, these gay feds like Tucker, they can try to tie us up in knots and their deception, these convoluted narratives. We don't care. We're going hard as fuck. We're some white niggas. What do we have to lose? Fuck it, you know? So that's why I wear the shirt. It's the anthem.
Wang hats.
We also have the hats. We're catching up. We're really catching up. We're making a Herculean effort to get these hats out on time. So Fuentes.store. Subscribe to the website, americafirst.plus, $15 a month to get access to the archive every episode of the show. $100 a month to get access to the group chat. If I don't do a show, I'm in the group chat. So I didn't do a show last night, but I was in the group chat dropping insider information about Chuck Johnson. Okay? And about other things, about Crowder, about a lot of things. A lot of things. A lot of insider baseball, a lot of inside knowledge. So America First, .plus, check it out. Yeah, it's a little bit late. I didn't do a show last night. It's just been a very slow week. I feel like nothing has been happening in the news at all.
Such a slow news week.
I didn't do a show last night. I was a little tired, and I was thinking about canceling tonight. Again, there's like nothing in the news, but I said I can't skip so much of the show. But also, before we get into the news, I had this major collaboration with Steven Crowder this morning, and I hope you all tuned in. I thought it was great. We had a pretty solid viewership. I think there were 85,000 people watching on Rumble. I don't know how many on YouTube. But I thought it went really great. I was very pleasantly surprised. I had no idea what to expect. And him and I have both said negative things about each other in the past. And so, like with everything else, I had no idea if it was going to be a confrontation, if it was going to be hostile. But they emailed me and they said, it's going to be a discussion. We want you to flesh out your views. I said, well, I'm happy to do it. So I went on the show and you can watch it. It's on Rumble. It's on Steven Crowder's channel. It's on YouTube as well. And I was very pleasantly surprised. I was surprised at how well I got along with him. I didn't think I would, to tell you the truth, but I did. And I thought he was very congenial and very nice and fair. And we didn't agree on everything. I actually really liked the interview because we had a serious disagreement and heated. It almost got heated, but it wasn't personal. It wasn't personal. It wasn't name calling. It wasn't vicious. We have a strong disagreement. I think he would call himself more of a conservative, and I'm a reactionary. I am more radical. And I don't say that to one-up him, but I just am. I'm more radical in my tactics. I think my ideology is more radical. And we had a pretty intense disagreement about Trump and about how we move forward with Trump. And he was pressing me, and I pushed back a little bit. But you know what? It was a good faith disagreement, and I like that. I have no problem with that. I actually invite it. I welcome it. Because I love to talk about ideas. What I don't like is when people say, oh, you're not saying what you mean. When people call me a liar, or when people do the personal stuff, or, just in general, when people act in bad faith. I'm even okay. We walk through a lot of the clips that sound bad. And I don't love doing that, but I also don't shy away from it. If it's in good faith, I'll explain what I meant in a certain clip or things that people are unsure about. I have no problem with it. And so I really appreciated the way that he handled it. I thought it showed a lot of integrity because he could have been a real dick. Because the Groypers did show up to his events years ago, and I've said very shitty things about him. He could have been a real jerk to me, and he probably would have been justified. And it would have been better for him. It would have been easy for him to totally throw me under the bus and play games and attack me, and it would have been very easy, and it would have been unpleasant, and the Groypers would have been mad, and his people would be patting him on the back. But to his credit, total class act. Completely fair, completely honest. He told me exactly how it was going to go. And then I think the way that he handled it, it was a completely fair interview. And we didn't even agree on everything, but we fleshed out where each of us stood in detail. And I think we defined those disagreements pretty clearly. And then by the end of it, it was pretty friendly. So I was very pleasantly surprised. And I don't say surprised because I think he's a bad guy, but I had no idea how it was going to go. And very rarely does it go that well. So I really like that. And I was happy to do it. So maybe we could do it again in the future. I'm not going to hold him to that. I know maybe he doesn't want to be towards the end, he's like, yeah, don't go and say you're in the Mug Club or whatever. We were kind of joking about that, but no, I totally consider him to be a solid guy, stand-up guy. Nothing but nice things to say about it. I was really happy with it. So you can go and check it out. It had great reviews too. I was going through the YouTube comments. Everybody loved it, and that made me very happy. So great interview. But that's not all. Monday, we have Piers Morgan in the morning. That one I definitely think is going to be hostile because I do think that Piers Morgan operates in bad faith. I hope he doesn't. And if he's not, I'll treat him the same way I treated Steven. But I think it's going to be a lot of interrupting and sensational stuff, and I'm prepared for that. But that'll be on Monday. And then Thursday, I'm doing my annual stream with Richard Spencer, which we tend to do every year around this time. And so that'll be kind of interesting. So we still have a big lineup ahead of us. Okay, with that out of the way, we're going to dive into the news. How do I look? I feel like I look skinny. My diet is working. I told you, I'm on this diet and it's like ruining my life. It's making me want to commit suicide. I'm just so hungry all the time. But you know what? I think it's paying off. I was looking at myself before I started the show. You tell me, what do you think? I don't want to slouch. What do you think? I think I'm getting, it's when it starts to pay off, that's when it makes it worth it. Anyway, so that's just been an ongoing, I've been on this diet all week and I've been miserable. All right, but let's get into it. We're going to dive into our featured story here. Our first story is about Candace Owens, and where even to begin with this? Well, we'll talk about the events from this week. So as you know, Candace Owens has been on a crusade. She has been a woman possessed. Obsessed with getting to the bottom of Charlie Kirk's assassination. She believes there was a conspiracy to kill him, an elaborate conspiracy that involved multiple governments and multiple law enforcement agencies and people inside Charlie Kirk's organization. This is her theory. This is her conjecture. As you know, for 3 months, she has done, I think almost every single show that she has done has been about this. She has deputized her millions of followers to help her in this investigation. And they have left no stone unturned. They've looked at, apparently, the report by the attending physician. They have looked at the tunnels, the utility hatch underneath the tent. They have looked at every angle of video showing the assassination. They have looked at the SD cards and the cameras from Turning Point. They have looked at everybody in the audience, the person that asked the final question. They've looked at Turning Point personnel. They brought in flight logs from an Egyptian military aircraft, or multiple Egyptian military aircraft. And they are alleging, her and her followers are alleging, that this is a truly multilateral conspiracy involving the FBI, the Utah police, Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk's wife, his best friends, his business associates, Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, the French government, the Israeli government, the Egyptian government, the Mossad. Like, this is the theory, that this is a conspiracy involving maybe hundreds of people, maybe thousands, dozens of people in Provo, Utah that day. Like I said, people in these law enforcement intelligence agencies at the highest levels of government. She's alleging there is a vast conspiracy to kill Charlie Kirk. Why? Who knows? Ostensibly, they say it was to shut him up because he was about to turn against Israel. They say that's why. With that in mind, Turning Point USA hosted an event with Tucker Carlson a few weeks after he died. And then Tucker did a show with me. So how does that make sense? Last I checked, Tucker is going to be at America Fest in December. So how do you explain that? The FBI, the French, the Israelis, the United States, Turning Point, the Mormons, they killed Charlie because he refused to disavow Tucker. Now that Charlie's out of the picture, they're going to bring Tucker to their events? And Tucker's going to do a show with me, and then he's going to go to America Fest and headline? It doesn't even make any sense. Anyway, we're not going to litigate that theory, but this has been the theory. And it has, in my opinion, done a lot of damage to the country because there are millions of people that are watching this, and they seem to be completely divorced from reality. We're 3 months in, and there seems to be no evidence at all. And much of the evidence is wrong. For example, she talks about this Egyptian military plane, and she got the time zone wrong because she didn't know what UTC meant. She thought it meant Utah time. And so she had an Egyptian plane present during the assassination and leaving afterward, but she misplaced it because she got the time zone wrong. And when people corrected her, she came out and said, well, you correcting me proves that I'm right because you wouldn't care if I wasn't over the target.
It is really funny because that is like the most woman response ever. It's like the only reason you would question that is because I'm right. It is, when you really think about it, just the most woman response to ever exist.
And it's things like that that freak me out, because it's like, if you're right, you're over the target. If you're wrong, you're also over the target. She comes out with this conspiracy that France is trying to kill her. She says, France is trying to kill me. Then she comes out and says, the French government didn't respond. The American government didn't respond. Suspicious. But didn't she say months ago that when the Israeli government responded to claims that they killed Charlie Kirk, that was suspicious too? So if they say something, they're in on it. If they say nothing, they're in on it. It's this confirmation bias, no matter what the outcome is, whether the facts are right or wrong, or whether they never arrive at all. It always furthers, oh, well, they wouldn't do that unless, oh, well, that's really weird, isn't it? Just asking questions. There's always just this insinuation. There's never actually anything concrete or tangible or real. I don't even think there's a coherent theory at this point that explains it from point A to point B. It's just a sort of general, every permutation is simultaneously true all at once. And that's just not intellectually rigorous, and it's not serious, and it's not honest. And anyway, I think this is doing profound damage to the country. I think it's disturbing. I think it's weird that millions of people are watching this and they're buying into this psychosis. And it has gotten to the point now where the people that are being implicated in the conspiracy, I'm sure they're being harassed in their real life. She's going on a show that millions of people watch, and she's naming private individuals and inciting her followers to harass these people. Whether it's people that, there's like a state representative, and there's people in the audience, and the guy that asked a question, and Turning Point USA itself. And you know me, I don't love Turning Point, and I don't love the people in there, and I don't trust them. I don't trust Andrew Colvett. I mean, the guy's a spook, and I could tell you all about Andrew Colvett. I don't trust him for 2 seconds. Blake Neff, he seems a little better. Jack Posobiec, I think, is a Fed. So I don't really trust any of those people there. But with that being said, these are all people that were friends with Charlie Kirk, worked with Charlie Kirk. They're being accused of killing him. And these millions of people are being deputized to go and harass them and attack them and say that they're in on this big thing, really with no evidence. And so finally, Turning Point USA comes out with a statement earlier this week, and Blake Neff makes a statement. And Blake Neff was really the mastermind behind the Charlie Kirk podcast. He used to be a writer for Tucker Carlson. And Blake Neff comes out with a statement and says, we're going to do a live stream. It's a formal response. He says Turning Point is going to, I don't know if they're going to bring together a panel, but they said they're going to address all the allegations piece by piece, and they're going to formally respond to all the allegations. And they even addressed some with specificity in this announcement. They said, they talked about the personnel that arranged the campus tour. They talked about the date of the campus tour and where it was, and the personnel that were involved in planning the whole thing. And so they went through and debunked a few things and said, we're going to give a complete and formal and full response later in the month. And this is the best part, they say Candace is invited. She can come to the studio, she can be on the live stream and ask us anything. And I thought, wow, what a great opportunity. And honestly, I would watch that. This is a victory.
I don't know what keeps going on. For some reason, the screen keeps resizing for no fucking reason at all. Let's see if I can fix that. What the fuck? This is so fucking weird. Let's just try it like this.
It's a huge win, because if you're pushing for the truth, if you're pushing for transparency, for exposure, then how do you do better than this? They're inviting you to do it live, in person, so you can't hide on a live stream. If it's going out live, they can't edit it. They can't change it in post-production. And if it's in person, then you're not going to have any concern about AI, about people in an earpiece, because that's always the concern when you do it remote, is that if you're in a different studio, then there's always suspicion. People are going to say, well, who's in the earpiece? Is there a teleprompter? Are they being fed something in real time in this day and age by AI? It makes it not fair. I'm a big believer in that. So this is like the perfect setup. I mean, it's on a silver platter. They said, we're going to answer every question. And you are invited live in person. We'll stream it and you can ask anything. That's a giant victory, because even if you're someone like myself that believes that Turning Point was not involved in it, this is due diligence. This is transparency. If you had any questions about it, you would want this, because this is going to bring the facts to light. And by the way, I will say, even as somebody that disagrees vehemently with Candace and what she's doing, and I don't even like her, it is unironically a victory for her. Now, I think that how she achieved this was a reckless disregard for the truth. That being said, she got it. She got the show, and I would watch it, and I would watch it with an open mind. And if you care about the truth, you would say, yeah, go to the
It would easily be the most watched thing of the year. Like, not even close. It would be the most watched event of the year if Candace sat down with Turning Point USA and Erica Kirk at the Turning Point studio and talked this out. It would easily be that big. And Candace backing out is really odd. I mean, Nick makes some incredible points about this.
headquarters, and we'll find out. If you're right, we will apologize. If you're right, then I will eat this hat. I will eat this hat on the show. And I will apologize and say, you know what? She was right all along. And she's the journalist of the century because she exposed this. She forced them to be transparent, and then she got them on the stream. I'd be the first one, honest to God. I think she should do it. And if she's proven wrong, well, then at the minimum, if you're a defender, you could say, well, she got transparency. She fought for the truth when no one else fought as hard. And whether it goes her way or it doesn't go her way, everyone is better off because now we know the answers. We have more information than when we started, and that's good. And it might hurt her pride. It might hurt her ego. And it might discredit her. But you know what? There's a way that she could spin that, and she could say, well, you know what? We pushed, and we got to the bottom of it. But you have to do it. So they tell her, you can come out, and you can go to the studio. We'll do a live, ask anything. You can respond in 24 hours, I think they said. And so Candace goes on her show, and she says, name the time, name the place. I'll do it. Let's do it tomorrow. We don't have to plan it. We don't need lawyers. Let's just do it because I care about the truth. So at midnight last night, Turning Point puts out a statement. This is what they say. This is Blake Neff. Blake Neff says, quote, the live stream we announced on the show Wednesday has been set. At 4 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. local time on Monday, December 15th, a collection of Charlie's friends will respond to statements made by Candace Owens to set the record straight once and for all prior to the opening of America Fest, which is this is their big conference, which is going to take place like a day later. He says, we'll be live streaming from Charlie's Phoenix studio. Our offer from yesterday holds. If Candace wishes to join us in person in Phoenix, she is welcome to do so. She can let us know by the end of the day. Beautiful. Perfect. If I'm Candace Owens, I am jumping on a private jet and I'm there. She's got that kind of money. Her husband's loaded. She makes millions of dollars from her YouTube channel. You know how loaded her family is? Her father-in-law is this loaded commodities trader. He's one of the biggest donors for the Conservative Party in the United Kingdom. And Candace has donors too, like John Mappin, or was it John? I know that John Mappin would pay for her private flight, the Scientologist that introduced her to her husband, George Farmer. John Mappin, the Scientologist who descends from the family that makes the jewels for the British crown. John Mappin, the man that takes credit for introducing her and her husband at Turning Point UK, the organization that he funded, that launched an event that he hosted. I'm sure that Mappin would love to pay for that flight. He's been writing letters about her, writing Substack posts, and she's been retweeting him. He would pay for the private jet. She could literally take a private jet armed to the teeth with a private security force, and she could arrange that. It's in 10 days. This was her response. She says, quote, kind of weird how you didn't email or call me to ask about times or availability and chose to instead tweet this confirmation out at midnight. Really? Why am I learning about this on X? Why am I learning about this? I love the Karen tone. She's such a bitch, it's unbelievable. It's not why did you do this? It's why am I learning about this on X? She reminds me of every bitchy mom in my Midwestern town. Every one of those snooty, why am I learning about this on X? She says. December 15th does not work in person. And 2 p.m. is also the literal time I do my podcast every day, which you knew. But we will happily cancel the daily podcast and join you guys virtually instead for the live stream on the 15th. If that works on your end, let's lock it in. And I love, this is the Candace Owens MO. It's to find things that are completely arbitrary and then just vaguely insinuate that there's something conspiratorial. So she says, kind of weird how you didn't email or call me to ask about times. What's weird about that? Didn't you say on your show, on your own show, name the time, name the place, we don't need to plan it, we don't need lawyers, just say it? And so they go on Twitter and say, well, this is when we're doing the live stream and you're welcome to join us. And she goes, Kind of weird. Not weird. No, it's kind of weird. I'm sorry, what's weird about that? You think they're going to send you an email after you accuse them of killing their boss?
Crazy.
And you said yourself you're not going to go through lawyers. So how exactly did you want it? Did you want it carried by a messenger pigeon? She goes, why am I finding out about this on X? This is really weird. Why didn't you call me? Call you? You're telling them that they killed their boss. You think they're going to say, hey, Candace, hi, hope you're doing well. So we're thinking of doing this live stream defending ourselves from the allegation that we're working with France and Israel to kill our own boss and friend, that you're telling millions of people with no evidence. Well, when did you want to do that? What works for, how do you think that's going to go? She goes, why am I learning about it on X? Then she says, you chose to tweet this confirmation out at midnight. Again, okay, so what? When were they supposed to tweet it out? During business hours? You're only supposed to respond to these things during business hours. You know, it's the 21st century. Like, people are up at midnight. We're on social media. You're up at midnight. I mean, what are you talking about? Isn't it weird that they posted it on Twitter and at midnight? No, not really. What, is that part of the French connection too? It's like with the text messages on Discord. El Reeve is pressing her saying, how do you know the text messages are fake? And she goes, they don't have any timestamps. Okay, so? El Reeve says, do you have any evidence they're fake? She goes, no. Okay. Then she goes and says, it doesn't work in person. Okay, why not? Like, genuinely, what excuse do you have? Anyway, we'll get into that in a minute. Suffice to say, she says, I can't make it in person, but let's do a stream. So Blake responds. He says, yesterday we made it clear that we would be scheduling a formal response to the allegations and accusations you have made. We've decided that response will be delivered during a live stream on December 15th. Thank you for your response, letting us know you will not be joining the in-person conversation. We will proceed without you. She replies, it has been decided by the public that the best response for this is for my team to live stream your live stream and provide commentary. Since you already picked our regular podcasting time, we look forward to providing live responses to your once and for all answers. And if we could just back it up for a minute, if you actually watch Blake Neff's statement on Wednesday, he said exactly that. He said, we have to respond to these allegations because they won't let it go. He said, we're going to issue a formal response. We're going to do it live in the studio later in the month. We'll announce it soon. He said, and Candace is welcome to join us. He didn't say, we're going to call her up and have a live debate over Zoom. He said, we are forced to respond to the allegations. We're going to do it here in the studio live later in the month. We're going to pick a time, and she is welcome to join us. That's what he said. And then what she said is, name the time, name the place. We don't need to plan it. We don't need lawyers. Let's do it tomorrow. Let's do it anytime. They announce on Twitter, we're doing our stream on the 15th. You're welcome to join us. She comes out and says, I can't do that. What about it? Then she changes the deal. She insinuates there's funny business, even though there's nothing funny about that at all. That's what he said. That's what you said. Oh, this is really weird. This is really strange. Why'd you say it at midnight? That's when I'm doing my show. Your show is about this. It's about this. She goes, and anyway, I can't do it in person. That's no good. No excuse given. You know, it'd be one thing. And by the way, I think you kind of owe it to your audience. It'd be one thing if she said,
100%.
Who even knows? Like, I don't.
Like, I'm someone who's giving Candace shit, and then I was like, you know, we're going to back off. And it's like, maybe she might be onto something. Maybe not, but maybe she is. And then she gets this opportunity. Like Nick said, it's a victory for her. They've responded. They've said, come and debate this. And she's like, you know what? I'm just going to react to your debate. Or I'm just going to react to your response. It's like, what the fuck? Like, people have been waiting months for this moment. And you're blowing it up, Candace, for no reason.
Oh no, I'm going to my dad's funeral or something. Like, if there was some excuse, I think we're owed that, but not even an excuse. Oh, that's no good for me. How about Zoom? Changes the deal. And Blake comes out and says, well, that's not really what we said. This is when we're doing it, and you can come. And if you're not going to come, then okay, we'll proceed without you. She comes back and says, well, I'll live stream the live stream. And you go, so what's really the whole point of all this? This is what you wanted. This is transparency. You're so busy that you can't fly out and do it. And by the way, she has been talking about this assassination, milking it every day for 3 months. And it truly is milking it. These like cliffhangers, the clickbait. She's been withholding evidence the whole time. She's withholding lots of things that she says, well, I'm going to wait to put this out. I'm going to wait to tell you everything Charlie told me in my dream. And every week it's, you got to tune in tomorrow. I just got a groundbreaking. Every week it's a groundbreaking discovery, and it never really is. She's been milking this for 3 months to her personal enrichment and self-aggrandizement. She has gotten millions of subscribers, and views, probably millions of dollars, at the minimum, hundreds of thousands of dollars in 3 months. Her podcast has skyrocketed to the top off of this. And she claims that she is obsessively, that she will not let it go. She is obsessed with getting to the bottom of this conspiracy because she sees herself as in the middle of a spiritual, cosmic, intercontinental political battle that involves the French government, the Israeli government, the US government. Charlie is communing with her in dreams. She's having visions about it. So she's at the center of a global satanic conspiracy. It's entered into the spiritual realm. She has been appointed or anointed to do this because she was Charlie's friend, and she's not like all these people that betrayed him. She's an angel. Everyone else is two-faced. She is perfect. So she's the only one that's going to do this. And that's why she's hell-bent on doing this show and the song and dance every day to get the truth, to get to the bottom of it for her friend. Okay. Well, she's been alleging that Turning Point killed their own boss, that Erica might have killed her own husband, and she's now the head of Turning Point, and that his closest friends killed him. She says Charlie told her that in a dream. Apparently, she has evidence of this. She says, I'm going to name names. She says, don't play with me. I'm going to name names. I'm going to air you out. They say, all right already. Come to the studio. We'll explain it in person. Ask anything. She goes, oh, I'm busy that day. What could you possibly be busy with? If everything you're saying is true, what could possibly be more important? Because in your own words,
Exactly.
This is about your friendship with Charlie. This is about the relationship between France and the United States. They're making an attempt on your life, allegedly. You're being told messages in dreams. God and the dead are communicating to you in visions and in dreams to do this. What could be more important? Honestly. And she says, well, I'm too busy to go in person, but I'm going to live stream it. So you're not busy on the actual day because you're going to live stream their live stream. You're going to live stream the live stream that you can't attend in person. So you're not that busy. So what is it that you have going on in the morning? It's like a 3-hour flight from Nashville to Phoenix. It's not a long flight. And what time are they doing it locally? They're doing it 2 p.m. local time. So you can't catch a flight at 11 a.m. on that morning and then fly back? It doesn't even make any sense. You can do your own stream in your own house. So you got something going on in the morning or the afternoon. Like you could squeeze in a stream about the stream, but you can't make a quick trip over there on a private jet? She said, oh, I can't make it. So what could be more important? Then people say, well.
Yeah, and it's like, if anyone's like, oh, but a private jet costs a ton. Candace's husband is worth like $100-something million. A private jet back and forth round trip, unless she gets like a, like Gulfstream or something. I mean, even if she gets a Gulfstream, like it's not going to cost her more than 30, 45 grand, which, yeah, that's a lot of money. But to her and her family and the amount of money she's made, drip feeding this information, it's really not that much money, and this is exactly what she's been trying to get. And once they give it to her, she's like, you know what? No. It's fucking insane. Again, proving my point. Women in politics, we don't need them.
Maybe she's worried about her life. She's worried about being killed. Okay, I understand that. I was worried that Tucker Carlson might kill me when I did his show, but I went. You sort of have to go. If you're going to be a martyr, that's part of it. You have to be courageous. You have to be brave. You're not courageous and brave for going and beating your chest and doing all these things. And then you get the opportunity that you have to act on. And you say, oh, I'm afraid. No, you have to step up and face the music. I'll add. Maybe you don't find that convincing. If she's so afraid for her life, why was she at Tucker Carlson's Christmas party in Nashville last night?
Yep.
Why was she at Dollywood on Thanksgiving, the theme park? So allegedly, the French government and the Israeli intelligence have put a hit out on you. They've paid millions of dollars to kill you, but you're walking around a theme park in your town. You're walking around, for those that don't know, Dollywood, Dollyland? It's like Dolly Parton's Disney World. You're walking around Disney World? You're walking around an amusement park in your hometown on the holiday weekend when allegedly everyone's trying to kill you? Then you go to a Christmas party with Tucker Carlson in the same city, attended by hundreds of people, and people know you're going to be there with Tucker and all the base people in one room, but you can't go to Turning Point, where everybody knows you're going to be, and if anything happened to you, God forbid, they would immediately blame Turning Point. It doesn't even make any sense. So she says, I'm going to live stream the live stream, and I'm going to fact check it in real time. Why? I think we all know why She's totally full of shit. She doesn't care about the truth. If she did, she would go, no matter the cost. If she were really courageous and a truth teller, she would bootstrap it and she would say, wish me luck. She would kiss her husband when she walks out the door and say, it might not be coming back. And she would go and just fully send it and do it. Because if this is really, as she says, of cosmic, spiritual, geopolitical significance, you have to. And it's being offered up on a silver platter. You just have to. After talking all this shit, driving everybody against each other for the past 3 months, you got to do it. So clearly she doesn't believe what she's saying as far as the significance of all of this. Secondly, I don't think she believes what she's saying about Turning Point. Why does she not want to go in person? Because if she goes in person, she might get caught on the back foot. She might find out that her whole theory was wrong and that all of her facts are wrong and she might not be able to explain herself. If she's at home, she's not under pressure. What's more, she's got her producer in her ear. Like she did when I was on her show, like she does on all her shows. What's the producer's name? Skylar? She's going to have Skylar in her ear. So when she mispronounces something or she gets something wrong, she's going to say, Skylar, what was that? And Skylar can be on AI. Skylar can be on Twitter. And he can help her out. She can have air support. That's what this is about. And so she knows, first of all, it's obviously she does not mean what she says. It is not that important to her. And she does not have the courage of her convictions. She knows she's going to melt at Turning Point. She needs backup. So then she's going to engage in yet another lie. And then she's going to gaslight the world and say, oh, I'm not a coward. It's not that I don't have the courage of my convictions. It's they are being weird. They're being weird. I'm not backing down.
Gaslighting.
They said we're going to do a stream. You said name the time and place. They did. Now you're saying you can't go in person, but you can live stream it. And we all know why that is, but then she'll turn around and say, oh, I'm not a coward. They're just being weird. They announced it at midnight, so that's why I can't go. You can't go because they announced it at midnight? You can't go because you're seeing this on Twitter and not in your inbox? I mean, what are you even talking about? And so this is where it's like, if you're still on this train, I honestly have no respect for you. If you're still on board after this, I don't know how anybody can buy in. And like I said, I'm not saying this for rhetorical effect. I would actually love to see her talk to Turning Point because there's not a losing scenario there. If she goes to Turning Point, we're either going to find out that she was right all along. She's going to bring the receipts. She's going to name the names. She's going to put the screws in these people, and she is going to blow the lid on everything. And you know what? If she's right, we want to know. If she's right, I want to know that, and I want to see it. I want to see it proved. And if she's right, I will issue a public apology on video and writing. I will say, you know what? I doubted you. I didn't get it. You were right all along, blah, blah. Honest to God. And if she's wrong, then we'll know that too. We'll know that whatever the errors she made are, we will know what they are. And maybe it'll bring us closer to a bigger truth about what happened to Charlie Kirk, whether it was Tyler Robinson or some other thing went on, or maybe Turning Point wasn't in on it. We'll know more. And I think everybody wants to see it. We want to see, she's been building the energy for 3 months. This is supposed to be the climactic, like jury trial, courtroom drama moment. And she goes, I can't go. Well, you know what? I can't take you seriously then. This is one of those moments. You just got to do it. Put up or shut up. You talk all this shit. She's on her show every day, bobbing her head, all cocky. I'm going to name names and you better not mess with me because I got the receipts and I'm going to name the names. That doesn't fit.
Yeah, she always goes, I'm going to name names, and then she'll name one name, and then she'll be like, and then tune in tomorrow for the next name. It's like, this isn't Bravo TV, this is politics, give the fucking information. The drip feeding, it's insane.
With my timeline, and she's doing every day, she's doing this bullshit. Finally, they say, all right, you know what? Fine, come to Turning Point, let's just do a fucking live stream then, ask us anything. She goes, oh, I can't do it that day. You know what? Then fuck you. Then you're just a malicious operative. That is pure malice. There's just no excuse for that. And I'm hearing excuses. People say it's the holidays. She's got kids. She could get assassinated. None of that adds up. That's all bullshit. And everybody knows that. It's all a load of fucking bullshit.
Yep.
Everybody knows that if Ben Shapiro called me up and said, let's debate, I would be on the next flight to debate Ben Shapiro. And it's not even comparable because I don't do a show every single day, motherfucking Ben Shapiro for 3 months. I have a feud with him. But if Trump asked me to be on a stream, if Vance put me on a stream, if Shapiro, even if I didn't have complete confidence, I would be nervous, but I would send it. I'd say, I did it with Tucker. Tucker's people hit me up. They said, come and do the show. I was very nervous. I thought he might kill me. But I said, I can't. I literally told myself I can't back down. When I got the text, I was filled with apprehension and fear in the moment. But I said, I can't back down now. I will either get destroyed or it'll be okay or it'll be a triumph. I said, but I can't back down. That would be far worse. So I said, yeah, fuck it. Let's do it. They said, we'll book your travel. I don't normally let people book my travel for security, but I said, if that's what you do, that's what you do. Fine. And I let them book all my stuff. And I went and I was nervous about it. And I was uneasy the entire time, but I went and I steeled myself and did it. And that's what you have to do because I actually care. If I go and I'm attacking Tucker and I'm saying, you know what, man, bring me on the show then. Bring me on the show. You want a piece of me? Let's do it. When he said, let's do a show, I said, name the time, name the place. They gave me dates. I picked one. We went out there. We did it. I think they hit me up on October 5th and I came out on October 29th.
That's also the other thing with Candace. Like, she said the same thing. Name a time, name a place. They named a time and place. And instead of saying, hey, that day doesn't work for me. Can we do it this day? Can we do it this day? She was like, you know what? I'm just going to do my own live stream reacting to yours. It's like, did you actually want to talk to them? Or what the fuck was this entire thing?
29th. So I had a little bit more notice, but nevertheless, I said, fuck it. I'll go out there and I'll do it. Same thing with Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan hit me up the other day on Thanksgiving or around Thanksgiving. Come and do the show. I said, how's next Monday? So I saw that. It's just like, how do people buy into this now? I'm really disappointed in that. I mean, I can't be too disappointed because it's not a surprise, but it's like the audacity shocks even me. To drive the country apart like this, drive people to insanity over this, then you're given the opportunity to finally prove everybody wrong. And this is what she says on the show. She says, I have receipts. I'm going to name names. She's saying Tyler Boyer is a child molester. And look, I've talked to Tyler Boyer. And I don't know him really well. I wouldn't consider him a friend. I don't think he's molesting guys at Turning Point. And if you're going to claim that, you need extraordinary evidence, actually. You're going to need extraordinary evidence to prove that. And she says, I've got the receipts. She says Tyler Boyer is messing with young guys at Turning Point events. You don't go and they invite you to explain that. You don't go and face him. Well, what about the kids then?
Good point.
So, who can take that seriously? That's just like, that is malicious and harmful. To go and say a wife killed her husband, to go and say a guy is sexually abusive, to go and say Charlie was betrayed by every single one of his friends, and to tell everybody, I have the proof and I'm going to name names. They tell you, okay, bring it on. And you go, oh, I can't make it that day. Oh, please, Candace. And I said this earlier this year. I have Candace Owens fatigue. It's a species of black fatigue. People have black fatigue. I have Candace Owens fatigue.
We got black fatigue.
Loudmouth fucking idiot. Total loudmouth fucking black female narcissist retarded idiot is what she is. And a fucking coward at that, given this. I've so had enough. So, I mean, I watched that show. I don't know how she's going to face, but you know what? The audience is going to enable that. Audience reflexively makes excuses for that. But I just can't stand it anymore. I have absolute Candace Owens fatigue. I think the country is so sick and tired of her. It's not even smart. It's just dumb. It's just dumb and malicious. And, and I'm sick of hearing about it. So I can't wait until one of these people sues her. She really deserves it. She's got it coming. And I'm hesitant to say that because I'm close friends with Alex Jones and I hate to see Alex going through it. But at this point, it's like, and by the way, I'm going to say this also, as somebody in the information space, this is hurting all of us. And I'm not saying, it's violence or whatever, but I'm saying we're in a moment where we need truth tellers. We need people that are going to leave no stone unturned. We need people that are going to bring alternative narratives about what's happening in the world. And she is hurting us in two ways. One, she makes us all look crazy. How? Because there's all the difference in the world between looking at Open Secrets, the website, and looking at which billionaires are giving which politicians money. There's all the difference between looking at these patronage networks and who's being funded by who and which media companies are being funded by who. That's one thing. It's another thing to say, I've had visions. I'm having visions and dreams of beekeepers and Egyptian aircraft. That's totally insane. And for her to concoct this conspiracy going back to the French Revolution, and it's about Project Paperclip and MK Ultra and the Stanford prison experiment, and it's about Egypt and France and Macron and Charlie Kirk and this, and you're just making all of us look totally insane. You're a kook. And by the way, this is a real strategy. Cass Sunstein created this. Cass Sunstein worked in the Obama administration. He wrote and I believe he's from Harvard. He's from one of the Ivy Leagues. He wrote a paper about this. He said the way to destroy conspiracy theorists, it's not to debate them, it's not to debunk them, it's to make them look dumb by flooding the zone with crazy stuff. And so, for example, with 9/11, you've got very real evidence there. You've got the dancing Israelis, you've got the art students, you've got the text message that went out to all the Israelis. Like, you've got some real things that warrant attention. But then you have people saying the planes were holograms. Then you have people saying things like that, and they make you look crazy. That's one. Two is, in a media environment, when everybody is clamoring for censorship and to suppress disinformation, what do you think this does to those arguments? Because 10 years ago, I would say I'm a free speech absolutist. How could you censor the truth? If you're censoring it, it means it's true. Here we are 10 years later. You've got this psycho. She had millions of views, and she's literally deputizing her followers to, like, look at all the people in the audience, college students, like some kid in Turning Point. Find this person, find his name, interrogate. Like, that is actually reckless. It is actually reckless. There's a responsible way to do that, and then there's an irresponsible way when you just start throwing things out without evidence, whipping your followers up into.
And I know some of the information she's saying is definitely bullshit, because one of my viewers is one of the people who just, like, emailed her something crazy out of nowhere, something that wasn't true, something that they kind of just made up, but they emailed it to her tip line, and then she was talking about it on her show, saying it was one of the real things. It had to do with the Egyptian planes. I forget exactly what it was. But Candace is really just reading her emails and being like, oh shit, this person said this? Gotta be true. And that's legitimately happening, because one of my viewers has literally done that, and he just made it up. So you're hilarious for doing that, by the way.
A frenzy that they're fighting some satanic conspiracy, and that's why they need to go and look at this private individual or this student that asked a question. That's reckless. It's reckless and irresponsible in the way you're treating this process. It's not rigorous. It's not rigorous. There's no sense of responsibility for society. And it bolsters arguments that we shouldn't have complete free speech. It actually fortifies those arguments, because how many times do you think this nonsense will be cited in a future congressional hearing about why we can't have free speech on YouTube or why we can't have free speech on Twitter? It hurts all of us. And even with regard to the Jewish conspiracy, it doesn't help that we're trying to articulate a very clear idea of what's going on, which is that you have something like a state within a state. Jews are a transnational nation. They live across borders, and they are represented by something like a state. The organized Jewry is like a government of all the Jews in the world. And so the way they operate in the United States and Israel, it's like a state within a state. It'd be like if China was able to call on, with authority, all the Chinese people in America. You would say, well, maybe not every Chinese person will heed the call, but if the powerful ones do, it might be a problem. Like, we're trying to articulate something, I think, very supportable like that, and she comes in and says, no, it's the Stanford prison experiment and MK Ultra and Project Paperclip and the Frankists and the French Revolution. And you're like, yeah, you're making us look crazy. You're making us look like idiots. So I continue to believe this is like, this little tear that she's been on, it has been one of the most damaging things to our side. People are always asking me, how do you feel about your generational run? How do you feel that everyone's red-pilled now? I think I'm always waiting for the next shoe to drop. That's how I feel. And I'm always worried that it's going to go too far. People are going to get carried away. And we're going to invite a pendulum swing back in the other direction. And I think that's what she's doing. And it's not good. So I saw this today. I'm like, it's just unbelievable. Earlier in the year, I said my only response to Candace is just like, okay, you are so tiresome. I just look at her nonsense and I say, okay, Candace. She tells them anytime, any place. They go, okay, here's a time and place. She goes, well, that's not good for me. And that's weird that you said it at midnight. You go, okay, Candace, really? The French are trying to kill me. Really? Did you tell law enforcement? Well, I didn't submit it in any formal way. I didn't submit it in any of the formal channels. I just sent it to a buddy of mine. Okay, Candace. I have all the receipts. I'm going to name names. They invited you out there. You're not going to go? Okay. Such a ridiculous person. And whatever. She is what she is. At the minimum, she's profiting from it. What's really pathetic are the fans. What's really pathetic are the cultists. And no matter what, no matter how off she is, no matter how wrong she is, it's like a religious thing. It's almost like a weird religious charismatic thing. People say that about me, but I don't think that's true, because I think I'm self-deprecating, and I think that, look, I get attacked all the time. And I think I can admit when I'm wrong, and I think that I have a pretty rigorous process. This is like a weird charismatic religious thing. It's almost strikes me as like a weird Protestant, like religious guru thing. The way that she's fashioning herself is almost like a spiritual figure. It reminds me of what it must have been like in the Middle Ages. Somebody says, you know, oh, I got a private revelation or something like that, and start to build up a following in like a village of medieval peasants. That's what it feels like. And it's embarrassing. It's fucking embarrassing.
Nick's funny.
Not cool. But anyway, that's that. We're going to move on. We're going to talk about Venezuela.
That was awesome. We're going to watch the Venezuela part as well. I just want to go over what this is the first time I'm watching this as well. I've just seen a couple 5-minute clips, and that's about it. But yeah, I mean, even Candace this morning called Nick a fed on X. Candace is losing this situation right now. I mean, Candace, every single day for the last few months, has talked about Charlie Kirk's assassination. She has openly blamed the Turning Point USA employees, blamed multiple foreign nations, and even possibly Erica Kirk, the widowed wife of Charlie Kirk. And I don't think Erica should be the CEO of Turning Point, but when she's blaming the entire Turning Point administration, including Erica Kirk, for it, Candace pretty much has an obligation to go and debate them, answer the questions when they extend the invite. And Candace not only saying no, but not even pitching like an alternative date, just shows that either Candace is a complete fucking coward, or Candace has just been lying this entire time, drip-feeding information like a woman, treating politics like a Bravo TV show. And Nick's not wrong when he's like, I have Candace fatigue at this point, because it's real. I mean, it's very real. And it almost is, it's pretty insane that people are not opening up their eyes to this. Because like I said in the beginning, I was somebody who was like, we're going to support Candace. We're not going to counter signal her. And it's gotten to the point where she is just outright refusing to acknowledge the debate or do the debate when this is what she has been working for. She's been saying for 3 months, why won't you guys talk to me? Why won't you talk to me? I've asked them this question. I'm waiting for them to answer this question. I reached out to them. And it's like, okay, they reached out to you. They said, come on the show live so it won't be edited. And she's like, you know what? No. Like, what the fuck? It's insane. We're going to keep going with the show, though.
That's very harmful. We're going to get into the situation unfolding in the Caribbean. Let's see. And we've been trying to get into this for the past few days, but I don't know. I feel like there's nothing that exciting to say about it, but we'll get into it tonight. There's been a lot of new developments on Venezuela. Some of them from last week, some of them from this week. And as you know, we're on a war footing with Venezuela. It's very obvious. The Trump administration has been fabricating a pretext for this war throughout the entire year. It's been very clear. They have been accusing Venezuela of engaging in narco-terrorism. Narco-terrorism. They say that Venezuela is trafficking fentanyl and cocaine and other drugs into the United States. They say that the Venezuelan government in Caracas is actually operating the cartels that are doing this. So they say that Tren de Aragua and the Cult of the Sun, these are the two big Venezuelan cartels. And they say that these cartels are controlled by the Venezuelan state. They say it's a narco state. Venezuela's government gets revenue from the drug trade, and that makes them a criminal regime. And this is the very sloppy and ad hoc and basically ridiculous justification for a war. And how does that work? Well, if they could say that Venezuela is engaging in terrorism, then they can make the case that going to war with Venezuela is part of the war on terror. That's a big part of it. The other thing, if they could say that it's a war about drug trafficking, then they can use the Coast Guard and the Navy to interdict what they claim to be drug trafficking vessels. And under that pretext, they can say, we're going to bring all this military power into the Caribbean. We're going to bring F-35 fighter jets and an aircraft carrier to destroy like cigarette boats. Or what do they call them? Cigar boats? You're bringing an aircraft carrier strike group and F-35 fighter jets, the most advanced fighters in the world, to blow up like two guys on a dinghy with some cocaine? It's a pretext to build up the military posture and to start provoking and antagonizing Venezuela. Ironically, it's Washington that's engaging in terrorism. And I know that's a loaded term, but by definition, that's what it is. This is a strategy to terrorize Venezuela and the Venezuelan regime. They're going to put this overwhelming, massive force presence off the coast of Venezuela, and they're going to use it. They're going to bomb these little boats. They're going to fly bombers and fighter jets off the coast of Venezuela. And the purpose is to incite fear. It is to make the Venezuelan military and political apparatus believe that a military strike is imminent. And the message is, we're here, and if we can bomb these boats, we can bomb you, and there's nothing you could do about it. We could bomb your airfields, your airports. We could bomb your governmental headquarters, military headquarters. We can touch you, and you can't do anything. You're completely vulnerable. So that is what has been happening throughout the year, is that slowly and steadily you have had simultaneous the naval force posture increasing in the Caribbean, such that now we have 25% of the active Navy deployed there. So I believe it's 10 naval vessels there, 10,000 U.S. soldiers, squadrons of F-35 fighter jets, massive troop presence there. At the same time, you also have this justification. You have this flimsy justification for the war where they say, well, Venezuela is engaging in the drug trade. And by the way, that's not even true. Most of the cocaine that comes into the United States comes from Colombian and Mexican cartels. The fentanyl, too. The drugs come from Mexico and Colombia for the most part, not really Venezuela. Venezuela is not one of the major players in the fentanyl, in the manufacture or the distribution of fentanyl in the United States, or cocaine. It's not that they don't do it at all, but they're not one of the major countries doing it. And even the existence of one of these cartels, the Cult of the Sun, a lot of people say that's not even real, and the ties between the government and these cartels is tenuous. But again, the argument goes, here's the chain of reasoning, if the Venezuelan regime is funded by and in bed with or managing the cartels, and if the cartels are smuggling drugs into the United States, and if those drugs are killing Americans, then we could argue that's a form of terrorism. For Americans to die from fentanyl is a form of terrorism because someone's dying. We can run that up the flagpole. That's Nicolas Maduro's fault. He's the chief terrorist. So if we go off their coast and bomb all their vessels and maybe eventually even bomb their government, well, that's part of the global war on terror. We're defending ourselves at self-defense. And of course, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous because the real reason that Trump is doing this, we have to speak in terms of the players involved. The United States does nothing. Decision makers in government do things. And the decision makers in government that are relevant here are Donald Trump, the commander-in-chief, and Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State. And since the withdrawal of Mike Waltz, since he was dismissed, Rubio is also the National Security Advisor. So he heads up the National Security Council. That makes Rubio a very powerful Secretary of State. He has all the responsibilities and the powers of the Chief Diplomatic Officer, but he also has all the intelligence and power of the National Security Advisor. That's all part of his portfolio. And if you know anything about Rubio, you know that he comes from South Florida. He's Cuban. His parents fled. Now, everyone thinks that his parents fled the Cuban Revolution, the communists. In reality, his parents fled the previous regime, the U.S. puppet government. So he says, I hate communism. My parents fled communism. No, I believe they fled the previous regime. But anyway, Rubio's parents fled Cuba because of the turbulence there in the 50s and 60s. They settled in Florida, where there's a thriving Cuban-American community. And Rubio, ever since he was a kid, has this axe to grind against Castro and Cuba and communism. Hates Cuba. Well, more specifically, hates the communist government of Cuba, hates Castro, hates the regime. And you might say, well, what does Cuba have to do with Venezuela? Well, Venezuela is a socialist state also. And when Hugo Chavez came to power in Venezuela in 99, when they had their Bolivarian revolution some years later, they became a very critical strategic ally of Cuba. And they're engaged in a very important relationship where Venezuela gives Cuba oil and Cuba gives them doctors. They have intelligence sharing. Cuban intelligence is spying on Venezuela's military class to make sure that they don't mutiny against Nicolas Maduro. So they rely on each other heavily. And Rubio has a very expansive view of this new foreign policy in the Caribbean. He believes that if we stick it to Maduro, Maduro is the most powerful socialist, you could say revisionist, rogue power in the Western Hemisphere, in the Caribbean. Out of all of them, Bolivia, Nicaragua, Cuba, Venezuela is probably the richest and most powerful, as oil, gold, and close contacts, relationships with Russia, China, Iran. Rubio believes that if we topple Maduro in Caracas, then there's going to be dominoes falling in reverse. You take out Maduro, and then maybe you can roll up the communist regime in Cuba, and maybe then you can roll up the communist regime in Nicaragua.
What happened to Trump being the president of no new wars? Like that shit went out the window immediately. Immediately it went out the window. He's like, more money to Israel, more money to Ukraine, regime change Venezuela. It's like, what the fuck is going on here?
And this would be a victory for him as a Cuban, as an anti-communist, but also it'd be a big victory for him going into 2028. He could take credit and say, I'm a Reagan-esque figure. I'm a Reagan-esque diplomat. I defeated communism in the Western Hemisphere and the Caribbean. And to tell you the truth, if that was achievable, that would be impressive. That would be notable. But that's a big if. And the reason he is driven to do this is because he is an anti-communist Cuban. Just like how Ben Shapiro wants us to die for Israel against Iran, Rubio wants us to die for Cuba, apparently, against Venezuela. This is part of his Cuban thing. And I would add, this is contra other people in the administration. Rick Grenell, who is one of Trump's envoys, has been negotiating with the government in Venezuela, and at one point during the year had actually reached a deal with Maduro. And the deal would look something like this. Over a period of time, Maduro would eventually step down and transition to a new government. In the meantime, the United States would get a piece of all new oil, all new gold. We would get control over their current oil and gold and other critical minerals. And Venezuela would realign themselves away from Beijing and towards Washington. That sounds like a perfect deal. That's a great deal. And by the way, I think that would only make common sense because the rest of South America is doing the same thing. Lula in Brazil has had a rapprochement with Trump. Argentina canceled their accession to BRICS and is close with Trump. Bolivia just elected a non-left president that wants to realign with the United States. In Ecuador and Peru, they're doing the same thing. In El Salvador. And in those other regimes where they're resistant to Trump, Trump is putting the screws in them, like in Colombia, in Panama. So for Maduro to say that, I mean, it's kind of a good deal. It means that if he's true to his word, we get Venezuela and we get a managed transition. We don't get a tumultuous regime change where the government collapses and it's guerrilla warfare and there's another exodus of 8 million Venezuelans. We get some kind of control and it's managed and it's over time. I mean, that sounds like a good deal, but there's intense disagreement inside the administration over the approach here. Rick Grenell wants the deal so that we can focus on China. We don't have to invade and do regime change and then we...
This is just me speculating. It just popped in my head, but I've been seeing a lot of reports recently of people saying Trump's unhappy with certain people in his cabinet. He's looking to replace them, and that's got to be kind of obvious because it's been an abysmal failure in his cabinet, his approval ratings in the shit. But I'm curious if some of it has to do with some of the pushback he's getting because it does seem like Trump is the one pushing this regime change towards Venezuela. And I'm curious if people resisting within the cabinet are people he's looking at replacing. That's just speculation. I just thought of that in my head right now.
We break it, we buy it, we're in there forever. Rick Grenell says, let's make a deal. That's a model for other countries. And then let's go somewhere else. Rubio says, no, we're hanging out in the Caribbean. We're going to knock down Maduro hard. Then we're going to knock down Cuba. Then we're going to knock down Nicaragua. So if you thought we're biting off more than we could chew for Venezuela, you don't even know the half of it. It's about so much more. They don't even want to just stop at Venezuela. They want to go further. And if this sounds familiar, it's because it is. This is the same kind of thinking behind the war in Iraq, which is that if we go and invade Iraq and topple that government, well, then there would be a domino effect. That was the idea. We didn't go into Iraq simply to destroy the WMD that allegedly was there. It wasn't simply because Saddam was a pariah. There was an idea that if we toppled Saddam, we could plant the seed of democratic liberalism, liberal, whatever you want to call it, liberal capitalism. We were going to plant the flag of freedom in Iraq, and then Syria and Iran and the other countries would follow. And the Middle East would become a liberal place, and pursuant to democratic peace theory would no longer be a problem for Europe or the United States. That was the idea. And look at how that turned out. We went into Iraq. Did that work? It didn't even work there. We didn't even get a democracy there. We went there, and then it started a religious civil war, and then we're getting blown to smithereens in irregular guerrilla warfare for 10 years. And then we get ISIS, and then it blows up, and then the same thing happens. The only thing that spread was misery. And now Al-Qaeda runs Syria, and Hezbollah runs Iraq. So you're worse off, actually. That's what
I talk about all the time. I mean, literally everything we did in the Middle East has backfired, and people are like, nope, but supporting Israel is a good thing. It's like, you're a fucking idiot. Supporting Israel and every other fucking thing we've done in the Middle East has been a bad idea. There has not been a good thing we've done in the Middle East. We need to stay the fuck away from there. Nothing good comes out of the Middle East.
Odds that in Venezuela it's going to be any different. And it's not apples to apples. Venezuela is very different than Iraq. It's closer to home, militarily weaker. no WMDs. They're not Muslim. On some level, it's more justifiable because it's within our legitimate sphere of influence, and therefore you could argue it's about national security. But still, all of those concerns are still valid here, which is to say, you go to war in Venezuela and topple the government. Okay, what comes on the next day? You're going to get Machado? And is she going to be able to take control of the apparatus? Are all of Maduro's officers going to go away? Are they going to support her? There's no evidence that that's the case. There's no evidence that this new regime they want to build has any legitimacy. And forget about legitimacy with the people. What about with the security state? There's no evidence that that has happened. And what's more, the strategy for Cuba and Venezuela is that they know they can't control their airspace. They know they can't control the coast. Their strategy in the event of a war is to then blend into the population and launch guerrilla warfare. And this isn't like Panama in 1989. This is a big country with a lot of cities, a lot of densely populated cities, a dispersed population with a difficult terrain. It's a lot of jungle. 29 million people, 30 million people. So the idea you're going to go in there with 10,000, 20,000 troops, knock over the government, and then it's going to be smooth sailing, there's no evidence that it's going to be that way. I don't feel good about that. And then they want to go further. They want to go and attack other countries. Now, these are the new developments. The new developments in the story are that Trump is now talking about striking targets on the ground. He had a phone call with Maduro, and allegedly there was a proffer there. So Trump said that if Maduro steps down immediately, then he can escape, but then that's it. Like, he can't get immunity, he can't get, there's no clemency involved in that. Trump is saying you can flee and we won't kill you. He says, but otherwise we're going to kill you. And Maduro says, no, I want to stick around for a couple of years, or I want immunity, or I want to be able to get safe passage. Those were the results of the phone call. And this is a story from the New York Times. It says, quote, President Trump warned airlines and pilots on Saturday that the airspace near Venezuela was closed. In a post on social media, he wrote, all airlines, pilots, drug dealers, and human traffickers, he said, this is addressed to them, the airspace is closed in its entirety. He did not go into further detail in his post, but it came after he warned on Thursday night that the United States could very soon expand its attacks on boats thought to be carrying drugs in the waters off Venezuela to targets inside the country itself. The U.S. boat strikes have killed more than 80 people since early September. Earlier this year, a handful of foreign carriers had canceled flights to Venezuela after the Federal Aviation Administration issued a safety warning about the country. The United States has built up a substantial military presence in the Caribbean to put pressure on Venezuela. On Friday, the New York Times reported Mr. Trump had spoken by phone with Nicolas Maduro. The conversation took place late in the week and included a discussion about a possible meeting in the United States between the two leaders, although there are no plans at the moment for such a meeting. The phone call between Mr. Trump and Maduro, which included Secretary of State Marco Rubio, came days before the State Department officially designated Maduro as the leader of what the administration considers a drug cartel that is also a foreign terrorist organization, Cartel de los Soles, the Cartel of the Suns. And so this is where I think we are in the war, to sort of bring it up to speed to today. So you have this deployment off the coast, and let's talk about what's actually there. You got a carrier. You've got about a dozen naval vessels, 10,000 troops, F-35s. This is not an invasion force. Venezuela's got 30 million people. Like I said, it's a big country, lots of cities. A comparable example might be Panama. The United States invaded Panama in December 1989 with about 20,000 soldiers. Population, fraction of the size. The amount of territory, fraction of the size. They have like one city, all the people are there. This is a totally different ballgame. And you always have to compare the specifications, size of the population, the amount of major cities and where there might be strategic targets, the type of terrain. And so if you had 20,000 soldiers to liberate Panama, and the fighting lasted about a week, I don't think 10,000 can liberate Venezuela. That doesn't look to me like an invasion force. So what is this force posture for? It is to control the air. It is to do these effects-based warfare tactics, which is to say, they're bringing in sea power and air power, huge guns and missiles, sea to ground missiles, as well as guns and the aircraft, because what they intend on doing probably is taking control of the airports, taking control of the runways, the airstrips, military commercial airports, and then they control the airspace, probably bombing strategic targets, bombing military bases, other strategic targets, whether that's resources or ports or whatever. They're going to drop payload. Maybe decapitation strike. They're going to kill the leadership, top brass in the military. And then with their small force, they're going to come in to establish law and order. Maybe special forces or the 10,000 troops, maybe more than that, will deploy to go and find Maduro, find the other top lieutenants, make sure they're accounted for and either killed or captured, and then they're going to maintain law and order in the anarchy and oversee the transition. That's probably what that force is there to do. And if you've been paying attention over the
Nick is so much better at breaking this down than literally anybody else. I mean, I challenge anybody to find anyone else in the media right now who is able to break down any situation as well as Nick can. I mean, Nick, especially geopolitical situations, gives such a great analysis, and he's so good at speaking. It's so impressive.
the past 10 years, Trump's strategy, it's brinksmanship. It's brinksmanship and it's maximum pressure. And this is what we've seen in North Korea, in Syria, in Iran, in Russia, and this is what we've seen in Venezuela also, which is you use a combination of soft power and gunboat diplomacy to increase pressure to the maximum level. And so what does that mean? For example, with North Korea, we already had more sanctions than we could even levy on North Korea. There weren't any more sanctions we could apply. How do we hurt them economically? We went to Beijing, their only trading partner, their biggest trading partner. And we said, China, if you want to work with us, you need to help us denuclearize the Korean Peninsula. You need to put the screws in North Korea. And so China brought economic pain to bear on North Korea in a way that we couldn't do it unilaterally. So there's an economic pressure. Then Trump put 2 carrier strike groups off the coast of Korea and said, my button is bigger and mine works and you're going to see fire and fury and the storm is coming. And the idea was to create, this is called brinksmanship. It's bringing them to the brink of war, using maximum pressure, using that soft power, economic, diplomatic, psychological tactics, as well as gunboat diplomacy, bringing the visible presence of U.S. force to bear on these countries, demonstrating it to them, and then offering them a choice. We can meet and have a détente. We can normalize relations, which they did with North Korea, and discuss, or we can go to war. But I don't think that Trump actually wants all of these regime change wars. I don't think he actually wants invasions. This is the tactic. You see it in Iran also. You see it in Russia. It's these levers. It's calibrating your approach, calibrating your openness to diplomacy, signaling at various times an openness to negotiate, an openness to meet, an openness to talk or normalize, but also calibrating so that they have a fear that you might credibly destroy them, using the economic tools at your disposal to create destabilization, to create pain, stress on the regime, but also then to incite fear by, again, bringing down the force, demonstrating the force capability of the United States. And I think that's what he's doing in Venezuela. Very obvious. Because if you break it down over the course of the year, first, he puts a $50 million bounty on Maduro's head to incentivize those top lieutenants to betray him and give him up to the United States. Increases the sanctions on Venezuela. Brands them a terrorist organization, giving them a legal justification. Starts deploying naval assets, first to Puerto Rico, then to the Virgin Islands, Trinidad and Tobago. Now they're off the coast of Venezuela. Then he starts dropping bombs on the boats. Then he starts flying the bombers ever closer to Venezuela's coastline. Then he says, we're going to close your airspace. We could strike on the ground at any minute. As an economic as well as a psychological effect. One, it's going to grind a lot of trade to a halt, but also it's going to make them fear that action is imminent. And fear makes people collapse. The regime is going to collapse under the weight of that pressure. That's the idea. And what I think is happening right now is that, like I said earlier, you've got this intense disagreement inside the administration, where Rubio is certainly pushing for the regime change. He wants to go in and bomb Venezuela, topple Maduro. That will send a message to Iran. That will send a message to Russia. It might have ramifications for Cuba, for Nicaragua, for Panama, for Colombia, for that matter. Because diplomacy is, with the United States, is global. It's a global chessboard. I think Rubio wants to topple the regime. I think Rick Grenell wants a deal. And maybe Trump is using them to play off of each other as a good cop, bad cop. Maduro knows this. Maduro knows Rubio. Maduro knows Grenell. Maduro's regime is negotiating with Grenell and talking with Trump. But they also know that they could get Rubio, and what is going to come with Rubio is probably Maduro's head on a stick. So I think that's part of it too. Now, it could be the case that military action is imminent. It also could be the case that a deal is imminent, and they might be working out the details of the safe passage of Maduro to Qatar or some other third country. While this is going on, at the same time, you have the Democrats in the media and Congress, and they're raising all sorts of concerns about the alleged second strike on one of these drug trafficking vessels in September. They say that...
Why did it just freeze? What the fuck just happened? What the fuck? Alright, give me one moment. I'm gonna fix this. We're so close to the end of it too, and it decided to fuck up. One moment.
When Trump
There we go. Sorry about that.
Authorized Pete Hegseth to authorize a general to take out one of these drug smuggling boats, that they dropped a bomb on the boat. They saw that the boat capsized and there were survivors, and they finished off the survivors. They basically executed them. Even though their vessel wasn't seaworthy, they dropped another bomb and they killed these people slipping into the ocean. And the Democrats are saying that's a war crime because you're attacking people that are vulnerable, they're not seaworthy, and so they don't actually pose a threat. You've just executed people that are ostensibly unarmed and defenseless. And so now the media, and this has been all over the New York Times, the Washington Post all week, and the Democrats in Congress have raised articles of impeachment. They're saying this is a war crime and an impeachable offense, that whoever authorized this, they broke the law, whether it's the defense secretary, the general, the officer, or President Trump. And I at first glance, I think it's ridiculous, but then I think the reason they're doing it is to slow down the tempo of the Trump administration on the war. They're trying to pump the brakes. Why would they be into this 3 months after the fact? That strike happened on September 2nd, September 3rd. It's December 4th, December 5th. This is December 4th show, but it's 2 a.m., so it's December 5th. Why would they wait until this week to raise that? And why raise it at all? I think they're trying to slow down the tempo of the administration so that we don't rush into a war without congressional authorization, without oversight. And it's maybe a warning flare. You can't take out a drug vessel that way. You can't take out a whole country without approval from Congress. This might be Congress flexing its muscle. So I think that complicates things also in Trump's playbook here, because Trump likes to act quickly and decisively, which I like, and he's able to do that for a period of time. And then what always happens is the Democratic state catches up to him with all their rules and all their oversight and everything, and that's what it looks like is happening here. So that's the situation as it stands in Venezuela. I've been very clear about this from the beginning. We can maintain at once that Venezuela is part of our legitimate sphere of influence. People are always saying, why don't we focus on the national security threats at home? What does Iran have to do with us? And I totally agree with that. And that's a salient argument to make when people are talking about war in Yemen, in Iran, in these types of countries, in Ukraine even. But Venezuela is in the Western Hemisphere. It's right across the Gulf of Mexico. It's not far. And I would consider both North and South America our legitimate sphere of influence. Anything that happens there could be threatening to the United States. What protects us and insulates us from other countries is the oceans. We are protected from invasion. We are protected from non-nuclear powers that don't have a strategic air force or strategic nuclear capability. We're protected from them by distance because of the oceans. Iran can't hurt us because we're separated by an ocean. They don't have missiles that can hit us. They don't have an air force that can hit us. They can't threaten us. They can't invade us. It'd be tricky for China to invade us, for Japan to invade us. But that is not the case with Central and South America. Those countries, they could theoretically pose a threat to the United States because they're not separated from us by an ocean. They're connected to our country by land and by a not insignificant, or rather, or what is the right wording for that? By a pretty insignificant distance over water too, the Gulf of Mexico. So people like to say, well, we should stay out of it. I disagree. I think this is our business. And when you look at what the Maduro regime has done, forget about the fact that he's socialist. I don't really care about that. Who really cares? It's his country. They have national sovereignty. What I care about is the fact that he is aligned with U.S. adversaries. And maybe if it was one country, it wouldn't be a threat. But he's allied with Cuba, Nicaragua, China, Russia, Iran. And to the extent that they are working with Iran's military, to the extent that they are working with China and Russia, and they get Russian weapons and they get Chinese investment, we are fighting a new Cold War, a new Monroe Doctrine in South America. We're trying to expel China from these Latin American countries. So why are we going to kick out the Chinese in Argentina and try to kick them out in Brazil and in all these other places, but we're going to let them have a foothold in Venezuela? Dual-use infrastructure. They're going to have the oil there. They're going to control the gold there. They might build drones there. Why would we let them do this? We're going to be at war with them. We're going to let them exist across the pond like that? I don't think so. So at the minimum, it is in our national security interest that we should not allow Venezuela to take the side of U.S. strategic rivals, which is what China and Russia are. And Maduro has very conscientiously created an axis with them. He's in league with them. And that's not to say that he's going to invade America or attack America, but theoretically, in a war with China and Russia, he might be used to attack the United States or be used against the United States in some way. And I don't know why we would tolerate that. So I am in favor of U.S. intervention in Venezuela, although not necessarily regime change. I believe that America has strategic interests That doesn't mean that it doesn't matter how we pursue them. I still think that we should pursue a reasonable and restrained foreign policy, the policy of restraint. I'm in favor of that. So I don't think we should go in guns blazing and take out Maduro and then all these other countries. But I do think that this is the right strategy. Maximum pressure, a negotiated settlement. All we want is the oil, the gold. We want your allegiance, and we want Maduro out. And that's it. And you could be a Bolivarian socialist republic. I really don't care. And I don't even think we need to kill the guy. I don't think we need a war. I don't think that would be good for the United States. To destabilize this country, you're going to get another exodus. You might get guerrilla warfare. It might bleed over into these other states and create a security challenge for Brazil, for Colombia, for Guyana, certainly. And by the way, there's a lot of unexploited resources right there in Guyana, in the Essequibos. So, we want that too. And we want that too. And that's perfectly reasonable. So I definitely fall on the side of Rick Grinnell on this one. We should have a negotiated settlement. Let's get the allegiance of the government there. Let's get access to their raw materials. If we can go, and think about it this way. People say, how does that benefit us? If we could go into Venezuela, we can make their oil production efficient. Their oil production is less than half of what it should be because of sanctions, because of corruption, because of inefficiency. If we got down to Venezuela and we started pumping their oil, that would be a huge energy boon to the United States, and we would get all of it. Global oil prices would fall. That would hurt Russia. It would be beneficial for American consumers. We would secure the energy for our increasing electricity needs. And not only that, if we have a stable government in Venezuela that we're allied with, we can then extract all the energy that's in Guyana also, because they've just discovered a ton of resources there too. It's a win-win. So you do it smartly. You do it in a restrained way. You do it with regime change as the last resort. Only necessary in extraordinary circumstances. And I think that's the America First foreign policy. But I'll tell you what, I disagree with all these libertarians and leftists that want to bitch about, leave everybody alone. And they say that we should keep our nose out of there. That's their stuff. Fuck it. It's not their stuff. This hemisphere belongs to us. That's what it is to be America First. America First means we're in charge. America First does not mean we're going to sit with our hands in our lap at the United Nations and listen to fucking third world people bitch and moan and take all their own shit. That's not America First. When did multilateralism and internationalism become? It's totally the opposite. America First is we are going to march around this entire fucking half of the globe and we're going to tell everybody how it's going to be. That's America First. We're in charge. It is good to be in charge. And people don't realize that. We get to be a prosperous nation. We get to have a relative degree of autonomy and independence because we are powerful. Other countries get bossed around because they're not powerful. Look at like Germany, France, Italy. They get bossed around by the United States because we're bigger than them. They're dependent on us militarily, economically, so they have less freedom. They have less prosperity. They're getting killed by this war in Ukraine. Germany, they will not survive this. And their leaders have no choice because they are a suzerain of Washington. And people need to understand that it sounds great when you say, we're a republic, not an empire. But it's like an empire is what procures for us all these resources that make us rich. And what makes us rich is what makes us powerful. And what makes us powerful is what allows us to secure these resources. And unless you're ready to give up your autonomy, your sovereignty, your way of life, you might say that's happening regardless. I'd agree with you. But if we want to have, in any scenario, sovereignty and prosperity, we're going to need to have the empire. I don't want to give that up. I think it's ridiculous. And it's just ideologically not even right wing. People go and say, yeah, so Venezuela is going to take their oil. Good for them. And it's like, don't get me wrong. Yeah, they should profit from their oil too, but they should sell it to us. They can't be fucking around buying weapons from our enemies. Like, it doesn't even make any sense. You can make your own oil and you can use it for your own social programs, but you're going to sell it to us and we're going to tell you how much you're going to make of it. Because we're bigger than you, and that's the way it's going to go. We're not going to sit with our hands in our laps. These people are criminals. Nicolas Maduro, that whole regime, they're criminals. They're crooks. And we're going to go and sit in the United Nations and have them lecture. The devil spoke here yesterday. Fuck you. Who are you and what army, pal? So I'm America First, but I just think we need to be a smarter, more restrained empire that works for our own interests. And that's why I feel this way about Venezuela. I know a lot of people disagree. They've been huffing the Ron Paul stuff. I know Dave Smith is one of them. Ryan Grimm talking about colonialism in Haiti. It's like, give me a break, dude. They have 65 IQ. You think it's because of neo-colonialism that they eat dirt? Give me a break. That's just not right wing. Anyway, but that's that. We're going to move on. We're going to take a look at our super chats. We'll see what you guys have to say about all this.
There we go. That was the reaction to Nick's stream. Like I said, I tried not to talk a lot or pause it a ton. I did very briefly here and there. But he gives a better take than literally anybody about this, so it's always good to listen to what he has to say. I'm going to get our comments pulled up. We're still going to read the comments. I'm doing the show a little earlier in the day than I usually do, so we don't have as many as usual, but we do have some comments to read. We're going to go through them, and then the rest of the comments we will get to on Monday's show, but hope you guys are having a great Friday today. Casual Friday stream. Please remember to like, smash the follow button, leave a comment, let me know what you think about the show. All the comments are read at the end of each show. And remember to join our Telegram channel, stay updated on all things America Unfiltered, and rate the show 5 stars on Spotify. With that, let's get to our comments. Let's see. We'll do YouTube first. I think we just had like one on YouTube, and then we'll do all our Spotify comments. That's where we really get the comments.
Number 15 got the grippy.
Got the grip. Well, who is number 15? Rosa DeLauro, I think. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. Rosa DeLauro is crazy looking.
The omission of Douglas Murray from the Retard Awards represents the travesty of our time. I would posit that the said individual should be among the higher echelon at the very least, but the fact that this said individual has been entirely discluded leaves one reeling with an unaccustomed level of exasperation.
Yeah, that would have been a good addition to the list. There's a couple people I definitely forgot, but I put the thing together in one day. I got most of it. I think I did a decent job, but you're not wrong there. You're not wrong. Thank you for your comment.
Any man who can provide enough $sign for his wife to stay home knows that's her domain. I might be the highest authority in my home under God, but my wife is the one who makes it a home and sets the core foundations for our children.
Yeah, I don't disagree necessarily.
I also didn't grow up with a bunch of modern feminist women, nor is my wife. She understands our roles as God intended, so I'm lucky. I come home to a clean house, well-kept kids, and a big dinner ready for me.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds like a good life there. Props to you, buddy. I'll pray for you and your family. That's awesome. Thank you for your comment.
Found your page a few weeks ago and have been a daily listener since. Love the show and reaction episodes. Keep at it and stay safe, brother. Jesus is king.
Thank you. Christ is king. Let's go. Christ is king. Thank you. Appreciate the kind words.
Do you consider yourself normal? What a mouth.
No.
Can't listen to you cringe, man. It's an evil world. Read God's word. It will never be what you want. You care a lot, but it is written. Until you understand that you will curse and be part of making the world the way it is.
You're allowed to curse. It's not sinful to curse. It's sinful to be hate-filled and to curse people, but cursing in itself is not necessarily sinful. And no, I don't think I'm normal. I don't think anybody who does a show every day or a live show is normal. I don't think any of us consider ourselves normal. So thanks for your input.
I'm so sad you didn't give me an award. You didn't give me an official number, and you could have just called it the Anti-Israel Awards.
The anti-Israel, I think only like 10 of the people out of the 25 were Jews. I don't think it was all Israelis and Jews. I think only like 10 out of 25, not even half. And you got an honorable mention. That's Fidel. Fidel, you got an honorable mention. You were honorable mention at like 15 or 14 or 16, somewhere around that ballpark. You won it. You worked hard for it, Fidel. I mean, every day you're doing overtime in the comments. So, thank you for your comment. Glad you have a sense of humor about it, at least.
LOL, nice. Some of these people on the blue side we should keep around for the entertainment.
Yeah, possibly, but some of them are so fucking crazy they gotta go. They can't be in politics. I mean, some of the people are so fucking insane on the Democratic side. The Democrats they feel irrelevant right now, but there's a good chance they win the midterms. But they feel irrelevant right now. It's like coming off the Kamala loss. Kamala was such a dumb bitch, wine mom. Like, what do the Democrats have right now? Who do they have? Gavin Newsom? What was he, 24th biggest retard of the year?
Would you be willing to call for unity on the right if we stop funding Israel?
Yeah, possibly, but it would be more than just that. Like, it's not just the funding of Israel, it's the weapons, it's not just the money, the military support, the lobbying, the control of our media, equal access for people in America first, APEC not registering under FARA, and honestly, like, you'd have to deport Miriam Adelson, and get rid of the neocons. And I kind of wrote that out, and here's what he wrote back.
But here is the thing, removing all neocons is nearly impossible.
Not necessarily. I mean, no, not really, it's not. You just have to look at who's taking money from where. I mean, these people don't wake up and they're like, I want war. They're paid to want war.
Also, even though I'm not anti-Israel, I despise Bibi's government and all the war crimes that have been committed under it.
Good. Based.
We should ACC stop funding all foreign wars. Like, who gives a crap? They started the war. Let them finish it.
Yeah, but we should also be holding people accountable for war crimes. Not supporting them.
It's okay to be a straight white Christian male. It's okay to be a straight brown Hindu male. It's okay to be anything just as long as it's not insane, LOL.
Yeah, but also we shouldn't forget who built this nation. Just straight white Christian men.
JD Vance might be better for USA than Trump, honestly. BC Trump ACC makes us look like a joke, when we are literally the greatest nation to ever exist.
JD Vance is a Silicon Valley prop. His name's not even JD Vance, it's James Donald Bowman. JD Vance has so many fucking problems. I don't think he would be better. I mean, he's younger, which I like. I like that he's a lot younger, but I'm not necessarily sure he would be better.
Also, who do you think will win the Super Bowl this year?
Hopefully the Eagles, possibly the Patriots or Bears. And then I wrote that, and then this is what you said.
I'm saying the Bears are winning the Super Bowl this year.
I hope the Eagles do, but if the Eagles don't, I'm fine with the Bears. I'm fine with that. Let's see. I think that might have been all the comments. We didn't have a ton of comments. I'm filming this earlier in the day, way earlier than I usually do. Let's refresh, see if anything new came in. No, that's all. I'm sure we will get more comments, but right now we don't have any. Yeah, that seems to be everything. All right, I'm going to sign off for the day. It's been a great Friday show. Hope you guys have had a great day today. Hope you guys enjoyed the show and the reaction stream today. We will be back here on Monday with a new show, back to hopefully a busier week. I mean, it has been painfully fucking slow in the news. That's the reason we've been, like, we did an award show this week. We did a reaction stream today. It's like, there's not a lot to talk about. I could talk about, like, Elon calling Nick a Fed. Absolutely fucking ridiculous. Not presenting any information, but saying it. And then Candace saying the same thing. But it's like Candace is now backing out of the Turning Point USA event. A lot of people, like Nick talked about, are talking about the September 2nd Venezuela attack. But it's months ago. And, you know, again, we haven't really seen the videos. Really not a lot going on in the media right now. There's not a ton. So hopefully we get a busier weekend. We get a busier news week coming up. But until then, I will see you guys on Monday. Hope you guys have a blessed day. Hope you guys have a blessed weekend. Please don't drink and drive. But if you do, call your lawyer first. I'm signing off today, and I will see you guys again on Monday. Thank you.